Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the GSA Schedule Requirements, Proposal Prep, and What's Next webinar. And before we begin, I'd like to do a quick sound check and to make sure you guys can hear me. So if you could please raise your hand inside the GoToWebinar app by hitting that high five icon, I would appreciate that. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. My name is Christina Collins, and I am the training facilitator for the Virginia Apex Accelerator. The Virginia Apex Accelerator is funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the Department of Defense. It is also a sponsored program of George Mason University. If you're a Virginia-based business and not signed up as a client, please consider taking advantage of our free one-on-one counseling services. We do offer a subscription bid match service available to all of our clients for a nominal fee. And I recommend taking a look at that sample profile on our website. I encourage you to familiarize yourself with our website, especially our resources page. And our new URL is virginiaapex.org. If you are based outside of Virginia, you can take advantage of your local procurement technical assistance centers. There are over 90 of them throughout the country. And you can find your local office at the Association of Procurement Technical Assistance Centers website, abtac.us.org, or check at the bottom of our locations page on our website. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at apex@gmu.edu. And before we start, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. The slides for today's webinar will be available as a PDF inside the eCenter where you signed up. There will be an attachment under the class documents section. You will need to be logged in, so please use the auto login link from the reminder email to access these slides. And the documents will be available as soon as your attendance is taken today. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the questions window and not the chat box. And for those of you joining us by phone only and do not have a screen in front of you, please make sure you email us at apex@gmu.edu to let us know that you have attended today. Lastly, this is a live webinar and it is being recorded for internal purposes only at this time. Today's webinar presenter is Ms. Jennifer Schaus. Jennifer oversees the business and provides consulting on GSA schedule matters, federal business development and marketing at J. Schaus and Associates. With 20 years of experience, Jennifer is a well-known speaker at many events here in Northern Virginia and the DC region. She also sits on the board of directors for Govlish LLC and the National Military Intelligence Association. And with that, I'm going to turn over the webinar to Jennifer. Thank you everyone for joining us today.
All right, thank you so much, Christina, and thanks to everyone who has joined us this morning, I guess this afternoon, if anyone's joining from overseas, and special thanks to the Virginia Apex Accelerator for having me back to teach this class on GSA schedules. It's near and dear to my heart and one of my favorites. So again, as Christina said, everything is being recorded, and these slides, I believe, are also available to everybody. A little bit about me. I've been around this sector for 20 plus years. I started my career with Dun & Bradstreet after college, worked in their government division, and we were selling data to federal government agencies. Shortly thereafter, I started my own business, and I've worked with clients including Chevron, Brother Printer, Segway, Invisalign, and many other businesses, including ample small businesses in the DC metro area, as well as actually all over the world. Basically, we're focused on three main things: is educating our audience on government contracting through webinars. We also put on events, and last but not least is through consulting. So a little bit about our business and some of the services we provide, focused on proposal writing, primarily GSA schedule support, and other contract vehicles. We also help with marketing and business development, otherwise known as capture. We do have almost 700 now webinars on our YouTube channel. There's no cost to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You get automatic updates whenever we upload anything there. The vast majority of our webinars are on GSA schedules. Again, you can find those all either on our website or on the channel. Again, there's no cost. Some of the things, our topics on our in our webinars are listed here. Everything from the FAR to the DFARs, FAR supplements. Those are the federal acquisition regulations or contracting rules and nuances when selling to the government. So if you go to our website and just click on the section on webinars, this is the drop-down menu. So we've got at least probably 20 on each of these topics, if not more, depending upon the actual topic. We've got some playbooks as well on all the federal agencies, as well as links to their forecast, links to their small business office, and just a wide variety of information there. So if there is a specific department or agency that you're selling to, I encourage you to hop over to our website and again, kind of just scroll through those to get as much information as you can and educate yourself about the market. Again, all of this is complimentary. We're not selling you anything. I did mention that we put on events. We've got our quarterly event over at the Kennedy Center coming up less than 2 weeks away. It's Monday, June 24th, happening in the evening. Professional business attire is highly suggested, and we've got these great federal government departments that are going to be there, several from DOD, Air Force, Army, NAVAIR, NAVC. We've also got the VA, National Science Foundation, USAID, the SBA, and Health and Human Services. So I encourage you guys to come out for that. If you're looking for the registration link, it's found on our website under the section called events, as one would imagine. It's also listed here at the bottom of your screen, govsummer2024.eventbrite.com. We do still have a couple tickets left. We expect about 300 to 400 attendees, so we hope that you can join us. Okay, so what we are covering today again is GSA schedules. And here's just the agenda. I've kind of broken it out as far as just starting kind of high level, and then we'll drill down to the nitty-gritty details. I'll stop between each of these sections and take questions. We won't read out your names. We'll just read out the questions, so nothing to be shy or embarrassed about. I'm happy to repeat anything that I cover if you need me to go back to a slide or something along those lines. The only thing I'll ask is if there's something that we have not yet covered, just try to hold your question until we get to that topic. If I haven't covered whatever it is your question is, we'll try to get to that at the end. And we've got 2 hours together. So let's go ahead and dig in here. So first of all, who is GSA? General Services Administration. They are a non-appropriated agency, meaning that they do not receive any taxpayer funding. So they have to basically create their own money. So in some ways, you almost have to think of them as a for-profit entity, even though they are not. So how do they get their money? They get it through a variety of segments within GSA. First is PBS, that's the Public Building Service. And so GSA is the federal government's landlord or real estate agent, we'll call them. So they manage all the buildings and any space, office space, park service, that sort of thing. Any where monuments are, that kind of is a convergence of Department of Interior and GSA. And then there's also the contracts side of the house, which is what we're talking about today. And also as an FYI, you should know that GSA is the entity that oversees the public website. So SAM.gov, Federal Procurement Data System, USA Spending, and all of the other .gov websites where you're combing for data from the government, again, is overseen by GSA. So, okay, let's go and now dig into just the GSA schedule basics. What is it and what it is not? It's a contract vehicle, meaning it's a mechanism for the government to get to you. It's only a marketing tool and absolutely not required. So I'd say it's a feather in your cap, and it makes you a little bit more attractive and allows you to appear as a credible player, that a trusted entity, more or less, that the government can easily do business with because you've been vetted up front. But again, it's absolutely not required. And by going down the path and just being kind of trigger happy to get onto contract vehicles or secure set-aside certifications is not going to get you far at all. You really want to do some homework up front, and I'm probably going to repeat that about 101 times today. So the last bullet here where I've got it's used about 10 to 15% of the time in federal purchases. That number obviously will vary based on what it is you're selling. So if you've got a certain gizmo that the government uses and it's readily available in the commercial world and is purchased a lot on the schedule, then you may see that that number is actually 35%. Or maybe it's 3% or 3.5%. So my point being here is that you should be doing homework on what it is you're selling, and you should know in and out what it is you're selling and how the government prefers to purchase that solution. Again, whether it's product, software, or service. And there's so much data that's out there. You can actually get an exact number. You can get exact numbers for each and every department for if your solution was purchased by women-owned, veteran-owned, hub zone 8A, through the GSA, through OTA, through a variety of mechanisms. So again, I encourage you to do that homework before you decide that GSA is the right tool for you. So I mentioned the schedule is a contract vehicle, and companies are hold the GSA schedule or on the GSA schedule. There's about 18 to 20,000 companies currently on the schedule, and more than half of them have no sales through their schedule. Now, this does not mean that they don't have millions of dollars being sold in the commercial world, or that they don't have millions of dollars in other government contracts that just aren't going through the GSA. The main focus of the schedule is for GSA to secure your lowest prices. They are they'll basically negotiate you down to your lowest ultimate price. And then your GSA awarded prices will be a price ceiling or a not to exceed rate. So your margins are going to be really slim once you are on the schedule. And then there's some restrictions about your pricing after you're on the schedule. This is all this is like the fine print that you should know again before you decide to download the solicitation and start preparing a response, whether you're doing it by yourself or with a consultant that's ready, willing, and able to sell you his or her services without making sure that it's in your best interest first. Let me just pause here and see if anything has come in as of what I've covered so far, Christina.
No questions yet.
Awesome. Okay, thanks. Okay, so the schedule is a solicitation, meaning it's a request for proposal, and you can find it on the sam.gov website, just like you can any other RFP or RFI or RFQ. And what's happened over the years for anyone that's kind of been watching GSA or has been in the sector for, let's say, more than 5 or 10 years, GSA always kind of goes through changes, and they have throughout the years, where there used to be a schedule just for IT services, there was a schedule just for marketing services, there was a schedule just for program and project management services. And then what's happened fairly recently, the last 2 to 3 years, GSA has consolidated all the schedules into one GSA schedule. So now instead of holding the IT 70 schedule or holding the MOBIS schedule or the AIMS schedule, everybody is now just on the GSA schedule or the MAS standing for multiple award schedule, meaning there are multiple companies, again, 18 to 20,000 that hold the schedule. And the way that the companies are differentiated is by what it is they're selling. So whatever your solution is, product, services, or software, GSA has a number system called SINs, special item numbers, and these are numbers, sometimes alphanumeric, that identify what it is your product, service, or software is. I think I have the next slide. We'll kind of delve into some examples. Some of these SIN numbers somewhat correspond to the NAICS code, the North American Industry Classification System, which is the 6-digit code that identifies really your industry at a high level. The SIN numbers are a little bit more specific. There's about, I think it's 338, I believe. There was a refresh recently to the solicitation. GSA is now on refresh number 21. It just means they've made 21 updates to the schedule since that original consolidation. And let me just kind of make a note about that, even though it's not on this slide. As you download the solicitation on sam.gov, you want to make sure that you stay abreast of any updates, because GSA will occasionally throw in an additional form that you need to complete or some other sort of compliance check that needs to happen, or they'll have a new spreadsheet for the price proposal. So stay abreast of what update they are on, and ensure that when you are submitting your documents, especially if you're doing it yourself, that you've got everything that is being asked for in that latest update. But again, back to these differentiators and how your business segmented, it's again through these special item numbers. And here we go. We've got the example. So again, if anyone was paying attention for the last several years, the IT schedules was called Schedule 70, and their SIN numbers, for example, for IT professional services was the 132-51. Now that's 54151S, and some others listed there. I just pulled them from the MOBIS schedule and others. So again, some of these somewhat correspond to NAICS codes, but not really. So just be cognizant. Sometimes the refresh numbers will add a new SIN number. If you think 20 plus years ago, there probably was not a SIN number related to cybersecurity, and maybe 30 years ago, there wasn't anything related to cloud or various technologies that have popped up in recent years. So I would say the first thing you want to do after reading the solicitation and making sure that you meet all the requirements, and if you do, and you've got customers that have told you that yes, this is how we want to purchase from you, then your next step then is to look at what SIN numbers do you fall under. So where do your products, services, or software fall? And various SIN numbers are going to have different requirements for the solicitation. Let's go ahead and move on. As I mentioned, the main focus really is price for GSA to secure your lowest price. So if your margins are already slim and you don't have any customers that want to buy from you through the schedule, this may not be the best path forward. However, if you are selling to, let's say, the World Bank, the IMF, the IFC, the Red Cross, United Nations, some state and local governments also have access or the ability to purchase off of the schedule. Just be aware of this. Sometimes it's an educational process with your customer to let them know, hey, you do have the ability to purchase from the schedule, but I would not, if you're already selling to the government or you're kind of scratching the surface, I wouldn't go out and explore these other verticals unless you've got relationships there. The main benefit of the schedule, though, is that it's going to make the procurement process easier because you're completing a bunch of paperwork, you're jumping through a bunch of hoops with GSA to then be on this vendor shortlist so that the buyers, meaning the government, so that they know that, again, you've kind of been checked out, you've been vetted, you're credible, your pricing is now negotiated down to the lowest penny possible. You've got past performance, and you meet the technical merit of whatever is specified in that special item number. So again, it makes it easier for the government so they don't have to go and conduct all of that market research on your price. You're still going to have to write proposals, I'll say 90% of the time, particularly for service companies and software. But again, it simply just shows that you're vetted and credible. So it does give you that boost. However, you're on a vendor shortlist with a lot of other pretty strong competitors. So you can, I'm not going to say eliminate competition, even though it's there, but you're going to limit competition. However, it's going to be more fierce competition. Again, just repeating what I said, it does show that you've been vetted and that you can read a solicitation, you know how to respond, and you've gotten yourself that far. It does give you additional marketing exposure. I'm not sure if GSA still does this, but they used to have trade shows regionally. I'll say this was before COVID, where it was more or less an opportunity for the government and GSA schedule holders to connect. Now, once you're on the schedule and you've completed all of the post-award pieces of the puzzle, which are really just compliance components where you've got to upload your price list, your GSA approved price list to the GSA Advantage website, put your terms and conditions up, and more, you're then going to get notifications for GSA schedule only RFPs. So you will get kind of that insider look at these various opportunities. However, keep in mind the competition is more fierce, and it's really just a smaller set of eyeballs than SAM.gov. And same process that I'll say, the RFPs that you see there really have been worked and wired, as I like to say, meaning that there's a relationship in place. So just because you see it on in your GSA eBuy portal or push notification, you get excited. If it's the first time you're seeing the RFP through GSA eBuy, one of your competitors has been in there talking to somebody at whatever agency, built up a relationship, and encourage the program manager and contracting officer to basically send this out through GSA to, again, limit the competition. So this is why relationships are absolutely important. And you can't just assume that you're going to be on the schedule and respond to the RFPs and RFQs that you see there without a relationship in place and potentially win. It really does not work that way. Okay, I'm going to take a sip of water and see if there's anything that has come in on this first piece.
Yes, Jennifer, we had a few questions come in.
Okay.
Assign them to you as well. The first question is, are federal agencies required to purchase from GSA schedules as their primary source?
So the answer is no. GSA can be used by all of the federal government as well as those quasi entities that I mentioned. However, we're going to get to a slide eventually that that depicts various contract vehicles. So DHS has a contract vehicle called Eagle, Navy Seaport E, NASA SOUP. The list go on and on and on and on. DHS also has one called PAX. So this is why the market research is absolutely essential. That's where you should be spending at least 80% of your time in the beginning to really understand who buys your product, service, or software, and how do they purchase? What contract vehicles are they using? Are they using their own department or agency vehicles? Are they going through GSA? GSA is one of many, 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 many options. That's why it's only 10 to 15% of the time that GSA is being used in federal contracts.
Next question is, if proposing the HACS SIN does that mean you are applying for the MAS IT SIN?
I think I need to either rehear or see that question.
I just assigned it. If proposing the HACS SIN, does that mean you're applying for the MAS IT SIN?
I'm not sure if that's one of the healthcare IT SINs. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the SIN number. Various contract vehicles are going to have SIN numbers or CLINs. So it really just, I don't know that one off the top of my head. So I don't know. I can get back to whoever asked the question after I look up that SIN and see if it is one of the many. There's 300, like I said, over 338, so I don't have them all memorized, but that may perhaps be one.
And the next question is, when does Jennifer not recommend someone go down the GSA schedule path? I didn't understand who she was referring to when she said it.
So if you don't have prospects that are asking you to be on the schedule, if you don't have opportunities that are being pushed through the schedule, if you don't have relationships in place, then the schedule is probably not right for you. Again, this is why the bulk of your time should be spent on market research, using the data that's out there, either by going onto all of the various websites, sam.gov, FPDS, USA Spending, or subscribing to I could probably rattle off 20 right now, data aggregators that charge a monthly fee and allow you to use a nicer interface than the .gov sites to basically get the same data and answers in a more efficient and expedient manner. So use the data to find out who's your customer, how do they purchase. If it's not through GSA, then this is not the right tool for you.
Okay, great. That's all the questions we have for now.
Awesome. Okay, I appreciate the questions. Okay, so now we'll talk about the actual process of getting on, and I think we're almost at 12. I'm just trying to be cognizant of the time here. So we will move to the next slide. So again, I'm just going to say this probably 100 more times before we finish, that homework and the market research is absolutely essential. Where's the path of least resistance? Who is buying your solution? Are you selling something that everybody else and their brother are selling? Do you have something that's a little bit unique? What is special about your product, service, or software? Have you knocked on any doors? Have you been to events? Have you talked to either influencers, maybe some primes, large or small, who are already in the department or agency that you're in? Why is it that you've chosen this department or agency? Is it based on a relationship? Is it based on your data and market research? Is it a little bit of both? It should be both. And then as it relates to GSA, you again should be using the data to make decisions. So let the data drive how you spend your time, how you spend your resources, how you spend your money. And as I mentioned, there's GSA schedules, which are used roughly 10 to 15% of the time. Again, it's going to vary for your specific solution, but there are other contract vehicles out there. And I think our next slide will point to that in some ways. So I'm a visual person, and this class used to be in person, so it was nice to have a whiteboard. So this is kind of as close as I'm going to get to that. And I'm just going to work my way down the left-hand side, which corresponds to the graph or the chart that you see here on the right. So how the federal government purchases, and these are very just loose, rough estimates, full and open, and it's going to vary for your specific solution. So you should be able to have both the percentage as well as the exact dollar amount for each of these line items that I've got here. And if you don't have that, then you're premature to the game for GSA, in my opinion. And that's kind of tough love, but if you want to make good business decisions, then again, do the homework. So number one, full and open competition. These are going to be the RFPs, RFQs that you see on sam.gov that anybody with the internet connection can see as well. The department and agency vehicles, those are the specific contract vehicles that are specific to the department. So again, Navy Seaport E, NASA SOUP, DHS PACS, and the lists go on and on and on for each of the departments. And some agencies have their own contract vehicles as well. You just need to do the research to find out what your customer is using and what do they prefer. GSA, I plopped in there at 12%. Again, it's going to go up or down again based on what it is you're selling. Set-asides, these are going to be the women-owned, veteran-owned, hub zone, 8A, and all the other check boxes that the government has goals to award contracts to. Simplified acquisition, those are set aside for small businesses. The threshold is 250. I think for 750 is for construction. Sole source means there's only one supplier, more or less, on the planet that can provide that product, service, or software. OTAs, these kind of popped up and it gained some traction during the COVID contracting era. Those are outside the FAR and can only be used by, I think it's DOD, HHS, DHS, Department of Energy, and NASA, I believe, is on that list as well. Again, you need to really educate yourself about the market and dig into these by reverse engineering. Again, do some searches in sam.gov or whoever the data aggregator is that you're using to get this information, and then let that information and data drive how you spend your time and what path you go down. Okay, and let's move to the next slide. So as far as the process, and again, part of this research is the second part, then is going to be how do your prices compare. And so if you're selling products or software, I'd encourage you to go over to the GSAadvantage.gov site. This is where all of the vendors, product and software have their price list posted. They are required to do so. So before you decide to get on, do your homework there, because you may find that your prices are going to be maybe 2x the what you see on GSAadvantage.gov. If that's the case, then you're going to know that GSA will more or less negotiate you down to these same prices. And if you can't live with those prices, then why even get onto the schedule? Because again, your schedule prices are a price ceiling or not to exceed. So as you start bidding for work through your schedule, you'll actually bid lower rates. And I've got a whole slide on pricing, so hold your pricing questions for a couple minutes, please. If you're selling professional services, so you've got program managers, IT systems engineers, or whatever it is you're selling, then I would head over to the buy.gsa.gov website, and I've got some screenshots from there to show you how to conduct that research, again, before you decide to get onto the schedule, because the worst thing to do is spend all this time putting together a proposal package, submit it to GSA, only to get to the negotiations to find that they want to reduce your GSA prices by 50% or some outrageous number, and you're not going to be able to live with that, so then you just walk away from the negotiation. So don't waste your time, do the homework up front, learn basically, does your customer prefer to use the schedule? Then if so, are you going to be competitive there with your pricing? If you've got a bunch of other profitable pricing on other contract vehicles or other mechanisms, then and you've got this customer that you just want to make happy and take care of, then you can kind of make that decision at that point. But make sure that you are making decisions based on information and data. And there's no other industry that has this amount of data. The plethora of data that's out there in government contracting is immense. And so use it to your advantage, because so many other companies that are out there are just kind of doing this knee-jerk reaction to RFPs and RFQs that they see on sam.gov without doing that research. So just again, keep that in mind. And those are the two websites to go to. We'll dig into the buy.gsa.gov and just, I think, a slide here. Yes. So this is a screenshot from buy.gsa.gov. So this is for anybody that is selling professional services. So program managers, project managers, IT, systems engineers, whatever it is, anyone that has an hourly rate or anything that's basically not a product or not software. So what we did, we plugged in project manager just because a lot of companies have that, and I thought it would be relevant for today's presentation. And we said 5 years of experience with a bachelor's degree. So you want to make sure you're comparing apples to apples. So if you have a project manager level 1 bachelor's degree, 5 years of experience, but you also have a project manager level 2 with 10 years of experience and a master's, then that would be a separate search. So GSA, when they receive your proposal to get onto the schedule, they will look at what you've proposed to them. And if you're proposing a rate for a project manager with 5 years of experience, a rate of $200 per hour, they're basically going to laugh in your face and say, well, we can buy this same job title, and they more or less commoditize professional services. So they're going to say, we can buy this at a rate of 140 from 200 or 1,000 plus companies. So why should we let you onto the schedule at this enormous rate? So they're basically going to negotiate you down to the 140. So again, do your homework, do your research before going down this path. You don't want to waste your time or theirs. So the 140 is the average, which is telling you that's kind of like where you need to be to get onto the schedule. And then once you're on the schedule, that 140 is a price ceiling. This is what, it was hard to get the entire screen onto one slide, so I just kind of broke it out just so everybody could see and didn't need to use a magnifying glass. So this is just scrolling further down. So again, the average price is the 140, and then below that, you're going to have a list of all the vendors that have that rate, as well as their the company name, their schedule number, as well as the schedule that they are, or the SIN number that they're on. And you just kind of go down the list here. So use this data. Now you're going to find different data when you go to GSA Advantage if you're selling products or software. So let me just pause here and see if anything has come in on price, and we'll dig into a little bit deeper in a moment.
We have 2 questions that came in. Someone want to know where you can find resources such as videos that explains the difference between the SAM.gov, the FPDS, and USA spending. When is it best to use one platform over the other?
Sure. So SAM.gov, would say is probably where you want to spend the majority of your time. That's probably where the biggest investment as far as dollars from the government are going to make that robust. FPDS is more or less sunsetting. USA, I mean, they're all going to have different but similar data. So it depends on what you're really kind of shopping for. And this is why some of the data aggregators that are out there are so successful, because they put all of that data in one central platform where it's consolidated, it's easier to use. You kind of plug in your search, or you can contact them and they can conduct the search for you and either spit out a report or something along those lines. So I would I take a look at the data aggregators as well. And some are more expensive than others, but there's still plenty that are palatable for small businesses. Was that it, or one more? I'm sorry.
Sorry, I can't get my hand on the mute button fast enough. 2 more came in. Where do you find the pricing tool again?
Sure. So let me go back. Oops. So for products and services, it's gsaadvantage.gov. And for services, it's buy.gsa.gov.
And then the next question is, our understanding is that GSA RFPs are not posted to SAM.gov. Are the contract awards based on GSA schedule posted publicly, say on usaspending.gov?
So this is, I'm glad this question came in. So GSA, in an effort of, let's say, transparency, this was a couple of years ago, maybe 3 or 4, I remember seeing an article somewhere, maybe it was on the GSA Interact website, stating that they were trying to be more transparent by basically opening up the GSA eBuy RFPs to basically anybody that had, again, an internet connection. And they were doing this with the goal, this was my understanding, that by having this transparency, that the vendors that were considering getting onto the schedule could use this data to decide, again, to help them make that kind of go, no-go decision. So if vendors were kind of scratching their head and they saw a bunch of RFPs that they thought were, in their sweet spot, then yeah, they'd say, let's go ahead and go for the GSA schedule. Or if they saw a lot that was just, wow, this looks like it's really wired for another company, you can tell there's a relationship in there, or there's some unique component that we cannot provide, then the company can make that decision to not get onto the schedule. This is really not the case, though. The only people that are going to see the GSA RFPs are the ones that are the schedule holders. And you're only going to be able to see the RFPs related to your special item number. As far as contract awards, anyone that gets onto the schedule, it shows up in sam.gov as a GSA schedule award, and then any contracts that are through your schedule once you're on the schedule are also will also show up on sam.gov. So yes, that's why I'm saying you can conduct this market research to really determine how many vendors are on in your special item number, how many vendors in your special item number have 0 sales. You're going to find that number is huge. And it's really kind of this 80-20 rule where 20% of the vendors in every SIN, if not less, are doing the bulk of the work. So again, that's why relationship comes into play. But long answer to a short question. So yes, on sam.gov, you can extract the GSA schedule contract awards. Anything else?
One just came in. Is there a company revenue requirement to be on the GSA schedule?
No, not necessarily, but your financials will need to be in decent order. You really don't want to show any loss. If you have a loss, you'll need an explanation. You need at least 24 months of balance sheet and income statement. If you're selling services, you should have 4 or 5 full-time employees. This doesn't include your 1099s or any part-time folks. And if your revenues, I'll say, this is just my personal opinion, having done this for 20 years, and seen companies that have either been successful or not. If you're just the only employee and your revenues are, let's say, 250 or less, or $1 million or less, like you kind of, and again, this is my tough love answer, you kind of have no business going down this path. It's really for companies that have relationships, that have a little bit of a footprint, and are just using this to enhance their marketing, their business development, their capture. You're playing with the big boys here, because again, as you start seeing these RFPs and RFQs through GSA eBuy, again, yes, it's a smaller set of eyeballs, but you're playing in the you're not in Little League anymore on SAM.gov. You're playing with in the NBA or the professional league. So you're still going to need to write proposal responses. You're still going to need a human body that understands both GSA schedules and navigating the ins and outs, how to kind of steer your customer there. There's compliance and back office reporting, so there's a cost of doing business. So when we get these small companies that come to us that want to get on the schedule, that haven't done the research, that have no relationships, it's probably not the best decision. So when we get questions about, is there a financial threshold, probably means that the company has less than $1 million in sales, and they're just trying to get a leg up or something. There's other ways, I think, that you could spend your time and money versus getting onto GSA without having a relationship in place, or having not even done any homework, or not really even understanding government contracting. Again, that's my personal / professional opinion. So I'll pause there and see if anything else has come in.
That's the last one for now. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, I think this was back a slide just to give you guys the websites for products and services, and the screenshot. Sorry, I should have put one on there for the GSA Advantage website. But okay, so as far as the process, let me just go back. Again, first you want to make sure that you absolutely meet the requirements of the solicitation down to the special item number, the SIN number level. Some SIN numbers are going to require, and we'll get into each of the components in a moment, are going to require one contract as your past performance. Some of the other SINs, particularly once you get into the IT services, may require 2. I know there was a SIN or 2 that required oral presentations to GSA. I'm not sure what happened with any of these latest refreshes. And again, there's 338 SINs, so I don't know them. I know kind of the more popular ones like the back of my hand, but some of these others I'd have to look up. So again, you want to make sure that you absolutely meet the requirements, the paper requirements, both pre and post award. So post award, again, there's a cost of doing business. You've got reporting, you've got GSA initiated mass mods, you've got just a variety of components just to holding a schedule. And just because you meet the requirements on paper, okay, yes, we have the past performance, yes, our financials look good, it does not mean that this is going to make you successful or bring in $1 million contracts. You need to be more realistic about this, that it's really just a feather in your cap and not a silver bullet. There is no silver bullet. You're just going to need to do a lot of small things to make your business successful in this sector. So here's what I would do as far as the process is map out kind of a timeline, put together a compliance matrix for the administrative, the technical, and the pricing section, and we'll get to that in a moment. You should then make sure that you have a quality control process in place, whether that's an outside consultant that comes in to review the process or review your paperwork, make sure that everything is compliant and competitive. And then you've got the submission, and that goes through a website on the a GSA website. It's eoffer.gsa.gov. You plug in your UEI number, which you grab from sam.gov, and kind of go through the prompts there. And I'll pause in case there's any questions on that. Now we're going to dig into the actual proposal, the meat and potatoes of the proposal. Okay, I'm guessing nothing came in. So, okay, the proposal components, as I mentioned, there's the administrative, the technical, and the pricing. And sorry, Christina, was there something or no? I saw you took yourself off mute.
Yeah, sorry, my my mute button is not working well. I apologize.
It's okay.
Just wanted to follow up. Is it 4 to 5 employees recommendation, just from the previous questions that we were just talking about?
Yeah, that's my recommendation. Again, if you're selling professional services, yes. There's no hard and fast requirement on this, but you want to be a substantial company with revenue, with contracts. They don't need to be government contracts. They could be contracts with, your state and local government, or just a commercial company, or a nonprofit, or a church, or education, or university, or whatever. But you should have a legitimate heartbeat to your business before you go down this path. This is not, you started your business 2 years ago and you haven't had much luck and decide to roll the dice on GSA. No, it needs to be more calculated than that.
Okay, that's all the questions now.
Okay, thanks. And let me just check the time. Okay, so we're coming around to 12:30. I'm going to leave time at the end also for additional questions, and everybody will get a copy of the slides too. We also put the slides on slideshare.net. So the proposal component says, if anyone knows, you should know if you're in government contracting, administrative, technical, and pricing, and we're going to break each of these out. So first is the administrative. If you're doing this by yourself, you can probably get the administrative done in, I'd say, a week. This is assuming that you are running your business as well. And so the components of the administrative, again, as I mentioned earlier, the last 2 full years, so 24 months balance sheet and income statement. If you're, January through December company, then it's January 1 through December 31st. If your fiscal year mirrors the government, then again, 2 full years, so 24 months of that, or depending upon when your fiscal year begins. When everything gets submitted to GSA through, again, this website, the eOffer website, depending upon what your financials look like and some of the ratios, you may potentially get a letter from the GSA finance people, and they will ask for the SF 527. This is the standard form 527. This is just more detailed information about your financials and includes a bank reference. So your bank will need to be on board with that. And so you may potentially want to give them a heads up, or Google is your friend, and just, download the GSA SF 527 to take a look at what that entails and make sure that that's something that your business and your bank can complete. The other 2 pieces here, the readiness assessment and the pathway to success, are GSA forms found in the Vendor Support Center, otherwise known as the VSC, Vendor Support Center, vsc.gsa.gov. They have a section on learning or training, and you can download both of those. The readiness assessment, I highly encourage actually anyone that's scratching their head about GSA to take both of those, just to consider answering some questions that you should in order to make a decision to get onto the schedule or not. So the readiness assessment will ask how many for example, it will ask how many vendors are within your special item number, how many vendors have 0 sales in your special item number, the top 3 vendors in that special item number, what are the company names or what's the revenue that they're doing. And you'll see again that, as I said earlier, that they are the ones doing the bulk of the business, and most of the companies have no revenue through their schedule. And why is that? Either they haven't done the homework, or they did or they did not do the homework, but they still decided, hey, yeah, let's just roll the dice, build it, and they will come. And that's not a strategy. Or somebody sold them something that they didn't need, which unfortunately does happen. And then the pathway to success, the readiness assessment, I'd give yourself a good hour there because you've got to go through some clunky websites to get some of the data. The pathway to success, that's more, I'd say 30 minutes to get through that one. And again, it's just going to ask you questions to make sure that you understand kind of what you're signing up for. So again, that is the administrative section. You also should include the cover letter there. That's your letter to GSA, just kind of outlining what you're pursuing and what your goals are. You want to make sure that your SAM record is in there as well, and make sure that it's current. that you're not leaving anything blank. If your 8A has expired, then make sure that that's current and correct. Then you've got the right primary NAICS code. You'll also, at some point, they're going to ask you for your tax ID and your UEI number. I would just submit it with the original offer. In the event that you're using an authorized negotiator, whether it's a person or a firm, you'll need to have the authorized negotiator form signed and submitted. That's should go on your company letterhead. And then if you've had any previous schedules with GSA that have either been rejected or canceled, if you've withdrawn an offer to GSA, you do not need to provide that information. But in the event that your company was rejected, you'll need to include the rejection letter with that. And same thing with the canceled schedules. You should save that documentation and submit that with your new offer. Let me pause there and see if anybody has questions about the administrative section.
We don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, awesome. Okay, administrative is pretty straightforward. And again, if you download the solicitation today, you could probably have that that component finished by Monday, Tuesday of next week. The second section then is the technical section. This includes a corporate narrative, as the screen says, as well as quality control. These are both GSA forms, meaning that all of this information is in the solicitation. So, which again is on sam.gov. So the corporate narrative has specific questions that GSA wants you to answer. There's about 6 questions. How long have you been in business? How many employees do you have? What's your accounting system? Just basic questions about your business. The second section of the technical is quality control. There's also about 6 or 7, maybe 8 questions in this part that will ask about who's in charge of quality control at your company. How do you handle multiple projects at the same time? How do you handle any sort of errors within any orders or any contracts? So answer the questions. Both of these in the past used to be each 2-page maximum. And you want to answer each question thoroughly. This is really your opportunity to shine and explain that you are a legitimate, decent company that knows what they're doing, that provides a good quality service, that has strong executive strength and good people, et cetera, et cetera. Now, it's not really a document that you upload. Each of these 6, 7, or 8 questions, you're going to copy and paste the answer into the GSA eoffer.gov site. So it's a little bit more labor intensive. What we do for our clients is we certainly upload those answers, cut and paste into each of the kind of Q&A section of that. But then we also, just as additional backup, we'll take the corporate narrative and the quality control as PDFs and upload those into the section for where GSA gives you the opportunity to upload additional documentation. So I just like to have it as kind of a safeguard, so it's in there. Also in the technical section, GSA will ask for references. For anyone that's been watching GSA for more than 5 or 10 years, you probably were familiar with a company called Open Ratings. They were owned by Dun & Bradstreet, and Open Ratings used to go out and survey your customers for you. Now what happens is there's a form that your customer will complete. And again, the customer is a customer is a customer. It does not need to be government. It doesn't need to be a prime. It doesn't need to be state and local. It can be a commercial customer. It can be, if you've got a contract with your local church, great. That customer there can be a reference. There's specific questions that the client will need to answer, and this will take them no more than, I'm going to say, 3 to 4 minutes to complete, if that. Additionally, if any companies that are pursuing the schedule have had direct contracts with the government, you can use your CPARs, and those are actually, I'll say, preferred. You'll just probably have a little bit less scrutiny, just as long as your CPARs are positive. And that's just kind of your past performance from government evaluation, more or less, is an easy way to put it. Also in this technical section, which is, it ends up being kind of a big section, depending upon how many special item numbers you're going, but this is where you will also include copies of contracts to show that you've done this type of work before. And this type of work just means the work that's related to the SIN number or SIN numbers that you're pursuing. So you'll have a copy of the contract as well as a narrative, again, specific questions from GSA. There's probably about, I think, 10 or 12. They have them listed by letter, kind of A, B, C, D. But I think it's about 10 or 12 questions that they're going to ask you about that specific contract related to the SIN number. So again, this is your opportunity to shine, to indicate to GSA that you have done this type of work, that you are an expert in this, whatever that SIN number is in this particular field, in this industry, in this sector. And so again, use that to your advantage to demonstrate that you do know what you're doing. Let me pause here and see if anybody has questions here on the technical.
Yes, Jennifer, a few questions came in. Is there a database that lists the current GSA schedule holders?
Yep, so if you go over to the GSA library, top right-hand corner, you pull down the option that says multiple awards schedule, and then that's going to give you a list of all of the SINs. And if you click on the SIN, it will tell you, it'll give you the list of all the vendors there.
Next question is, do the references need to be for recent work?
So they should be within the last 3 years, I believe is the cutoff, down to the month. So if you're submitting today, where are we, June? Your references should not have had contracts that expired before June of 2021.
Thanks, Jennifer. That's all the questions we have at this time.
Okay, super. So that was the administrative and the technical. Technical, depending upon how many special item numbers you're pursuing, I would encourage you to give yourself a little bit more time there. Again, the copy of the contract needs to have the date, the statement of work, signatures on it. So make sure that you've got best practices in place where in fact you are signing your contracts. We've had a couple clients over the years that actually had contracts, but they were not being they were working on the contracts, everything was in play, but there were actual not real signatures on there. For anyone that's selling products, and sorry, I just kind of made this a separate slide because most people that are tuning in usually are selling services. So in the event that you're selling products, you'll need to, and if you're not the manufacturer, you'll need a letter of supply from the manufacturer. This is something you probably want to share with the manufacturer before you decide to get onto the schedule, because this letter of supply is a GSA form. Again, it's found in the GSA solicitation. And there's going to be language in there that the manufacturer may or may not be willing to sign. So in the event that they are not willing to sign that, then that's going to be a deal breaker for getting onto the schedule. You also want to make sure that you're keeping track of the TAA, Trade Agreement Acts. These are going to be a list of countries that if the products are made in these countries, China, North Korea, Syria, the usual suspects, you want to ensure that your products are not being made there. And some of that gets addressed in that letter of supply. You also need to keep a pulse on Ability One. If Ability One, this is part of DOJ's Unicore. If they are manufacturing any products that you are also manufacturing, they basically get the upper hand and you cannot include any of these products on your schedule. And these things, TAA and Ability One, will change. They're living, breathing regulations. So make sure that once a month you have some sort of compliance check in place to monitor those. That's why I'm saying there's a cost of doing business. It's not just, oh, we're on the schedule and our phone's going to be ringing off the hook, or we're going to be taking orders left and right. You need to be monitoring these things. GSA is making updates to the schedule. You need to be reporting your sales. You need to be accepting mass mods. There's there's a lot that goes with this. It's almost like, I don't know, having a baby, I guess. It's a responsibility. There's money involved, maintenance, the list go on. And then for another piece here in technical is for services, you'll need your HR plan and overtime compensation. So for overtime, you need to ensure that this says that your hourly people are compensated at time and a half. If you don't have any hourly people, you still need to include this, because when you're providing services to the government, you're gonna your price proposal will more or less include hourly or daily rates. So so that's why the comp plan needs to be in there. And it can just be an extract from your employee handbook. So if your company is at the stage where, let's say, you don't have an employee handbook, then again, the GSA schedule is probably way premature for you. So again, make sure that you have these basic business processes in place before you go down this path. Again, just my suggestion based on who we have seen be successful versus those that are not. And I'll pause here again and see if there was anything on those two pieces on products and the HR plan that needs clarification.
Jennifer, we had a couple come in. One is, I've been an independent contractor with myself as an employee for 25 years. I have a master's degree and is certified in several IT disciplines. I have more than 50 invoices as of today from 2 customers only. Generally, would GSA reject me since I don't have any employees? All my work can be easily mapped to sins.
There'd probably be some hesitation, but I wouldn't say that they would reject you. I would just ask, you know, is this, have you done research? Are your clients asking you to be on the schedule? So, and if the answer is yes, then I would consider kind of going for it if that's the case.
Next question is, if you have a point of contact for references that's since moved to a different firm, is that still okay to use? The company we had a contract got bought out and does not exist.
Yes, you can use, and I would just make a note with that questionnaire.
Could you please explain how economic adjustments to yearly inflation is handled with your pricing?
Sure, we're getting into pricing now, so the question's a little bit premature, so we'll tackle that in a moment.
That's all of them.
Okay, great. Okay, so now we're going to move on to pricing, and we do have more detailed presentations on pricing. Today is really just kind of high level, so whoever kind of asked the pricing question will kind of touch on this lightly, but I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole, and I feel like it can confuse people that are just kind of scratching the surface on GSA schedule. So let's see how far we get down that. So again, to emphasize that the government, when they are purchasing from the GSA schedule, they know that you've been vetted, you've got the past performance, you've got the technical merit, but they also know that your prices have been negotiated down to rates that are comparable with other companies on the schedule. So I went back to that, or if you guys remember the screenshot from the project manager at 140 an hour, I think it was, 5 years of experience, bachelor's degree. So they know like that's kind of the GSA rate for that specific job title, comparing apples to apples, again, education and years of experience. So everyone is more or less grouped together on the GSA schedule. And really a differentiator will be your relationships. So, but let's stick with pricing here. So in the pricing section, there's a lot of components here too, and this will take the bulk of your time in the actual proposal preparation. So you're either going to, if you're selling services, then you're going to have a labor category matrix, which will list your job titles, minimum education, minimum years of experience, the job description, keywords, commercial rates, and other information. On the product listing, you'll have your product name, a description, your SKU number if you have something along those lines, or just a product code. If you're not the manufacturer, you also need to include the manufacturer's SKU or their internal code, as well as kind of pricing that they gave to you. Now, the second bullet here, the price list, you're going to have a list of your commercial rates, or if your company uses market rates, meaning that they fluctuate, you will list your market rates there. And then the last piece here of this second bullet says and EPA. And EPA here refers to not the Environmental Protection Agency, but it refers to the economic price adjustment, which is a whole nother ball of wax, which is what this last question that came in that Christina read off. So we'll tackle that a little bit later, but companies either have one or the other, commercial rates or market rates. Commercial rates more or less mean that your rates are set. They don't really fluctuate. Market rates are going to fluctuate. If you have commercial rates, then typically your economic price adjustment, which really the way to best define that is how your GSA pricing is increased year to year. So a GSA schedule initially is a 5-year contract. At the end of the 5 years, there are 3 5-year renewable periods. So if you are compliant, if you meet the sales quota, et cetera, then GSA will renew. There's paperwork involved, obviously, because it's a contract, but you'll submit your option paperwork to GSA for the renewal, and they'll basically give you another 5 years. So again, start to finish, 20 years. If you go down the path of commercial rates, at the end of every 12 months on the schedule, you'll then be allowed to submit a modification, a pricing modification to GSA, say, hey, our commercial rates went up by, I don't know, 8%. We're GSA, we also want to increase your rates. Now, I'm going to tell you, you're not going to get 8%. You'll get some sort of negotiated rate. And that rate will be good for your GSA schedule just for that next 12-month period. If you go down the path of market rates, this means again that your rates are going to fluctuate, but your GSA rates will be a set rate, and the way that they will be increased for the out years is typically by using some sort of economic indicator. Most companies, what happens, I'll say 80% of the time, is the price adjustment gets tied to Department of Labor's Table 5 index. And usually what they'll do is take the last 3 periods and look at the indicator there and take the average. So you'll probably get something that's between 2% and 4%, depending upon the economy and what Department of Labor has come up with. Again, this is another great exercise to go through before you decide to get onto the schedule and go down this path, because the worst thing to do is get into a negotiation with GSA and your economic indicator for your out years is, let's say, 2.5%. So in some ways it can help you because you know that that 2.5% is building your rates out for the next either 5, 10, or 15, 20 years, depending upon how you negotiate with GSA. And then so you can kind of plan based on having a known number. Or you can roll the dice a little bit more and kind of have more control by having commercial prices, and then at the end of every 12 months kind of come back to the table with GSA and kind of arm wrestle with them to say, hey, our commercial prices went up by whatever percent. We then want to increase our GSA rates by a certain percentage. I didn't mean to spend that much time on that second one, and I usually don't, but I'd rather kind of table that because it's a little bit of a ball of wax there. But the documentation that you need here in this pricing section includes an invoice for each and every line item that you're proposing. So if you have a project manager level 1 at $150 an hour and a project manager level 2 at $200 an hour, you'll need an invoice for each of those. If you're selling software, you'll need an invoice for that. If you're selling products, you'll need an invoice for each and every line item. And then all of that information goes into the GSA price proposal. This is their GSA spreadsheet. Where can you find that? Just where you can find everything in the GSA proposal, which is on sam.gov. And that price proposal will ask you for everything from your commercial price to your GSA proposed price, as well as your most favorite customer price, meaning that who have you given your best discounts to? And we'll talk about that in a moment. Competitive analysis, sometimes I submit that with the proposal. GSA will conduct this anyway, but I just like to have it ready for negotiation. So conduct it, but it doesn't need to be submitted. The other important component here is the commercial sales practice document, which is typically known as the CSP. It's actually built into the e-offer system. It will ask for your last fiscal year revenues, your estimated GSA schedule sales per SIN number. What else is in there? And if you've given any discounts to, if anyone other than the government is getting prices better than GSA. They're also going to ask for the fair and reasonable statement, why you believe your pricing is fair and reasonable, and how do you get that information. Go up 2 lines to that competitive analysis, and that's where you can use that documentation from the homework that you did to say we believe our pricing is fair and reasonable because our pricing falls in line with 90% of the other vendors that have these same job titles or have the same software or have the same product as we do, because we've done the research and you've got your spreadsheet there to kind of back that up. Let me pause here. I need to take a sip of water, and I'm sure there's at least one question on pricing.
Got a couple that came in. Do you need to request the increase in a mod for the Department of Labor rate increase?
I'm not sure I understand the question. It depends on if you're using, again, market rates or commercial rates and what your EPA is tied to. So
There was a follow-up with that. Or do you just submit an updated price list in a mod? MOD is what it's written.
yeah. Sounds like somebody needs help with a pricing mod. Let's go on to the next question. We'll come back to that.
Can you submit with a proposal with LCATs and pricing without a matching invoice? For example, we have an invoice for a senior program manager, but not a mid-level one. Also could be a new capability we want to provide.
So you'll need an invoice for every line item that you're proposing. In lieu of an invoice, GSA will accept proposals. So if you have a proposal, even if the proposal was not accepted or it's pending for that job title or the product or software, you can use that. If you're a company and if you haven't sold these job titles or these products or the software in the past, and there's always exceptions, but generally speaking, I'll say 75, 80% of the time, if you don't have an invoice, if that's indicating that you're a new company, you're kind of a startup again, this is really, this is too advanced for you. Like you're a couple steps ahead of where you need to be. But again, if you've got, I don't know, let's say 20 labor categories, but you're missing an invoice for a program manager level 2, but you've got a proposal or a quotation sheet, then yeah, go ahead and submit that. It's not that big of a deal. But if your entire price list is based on proposals, then again, you're probably, too green to be going after this. Again, that's just my my perspective.
Is there a specific form to use for the competitive analysis?
Well, I'll say no, but the pertinent information you want is the other schedule holder number, so their contract number, company name, the product name or SKU, and then the GSA rate. And I always try to get 3. And again, you kind of want to do this again before you decide to get onto the schedule. And then if that information is putting your company and your pricing in a favorable light, then that kind of helps you make that decision to pursue the schedule. And then you can keep that data, that research that you've done, and use it for your fair and reasonable statement. You can use it for your price negotiations. So when you do your homework, it makes the rest of the process that much easier.
All our rates are based on subcontractors. Could our GSA rate be higher than our invoice rates as they would be prime work? Meant to say, okay, yeah, go ahead. That was it.
Say that again. I'm not. It sounds like the company is a subcontractor, or they're a prime, and
All our rates are based on subcontracting. Could our
okay.
GSA rate be higher than our invoice rates as they would be prime work?
Yeah, this is a common problem with um, small or businesses. I'll just say in general is that most of their work is as a sub, so they've been dictated rates by the primes that are not very profitable. Now, if you don't have any commercial work or you don't have any other direct work with the government that have invoices where your prices are higher, it's going to be fairly difficult, if not impossible, to get rates that are higher because those are your rates. That's all if your entire business is subcontracting and your rates are, these very low rates, then you're going to have to disclose that to GSA, and those are kind of your rates. So even if you say, hey, our commercial rates are, 15, 20% higher, but this is, 100% of our revenue has been this, then it's going to be harder to go up. Again, this is why you want to do the research, because maybe the rates that you've been dictated as a subcontractor are reasonable with the GSA rate. So do that homework first before you make a quick decision just on rates that have been pushed to you by the primes.
That's all the questions for now.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and move on here. So on that commercial sales practice, this is where you will share information with GSA and kind of open the kimono to share with them your standard and non-standard discounts. So standard discounts mean that, let's just say you have a commercial price list or you have some sort of price list that maybe fluctuates a little bit, but you have a policy in place that says, anytime we work with nonprofits, we always give a 10% discount, or anytime we work with state and local, we give a 15% discount, or whatever that policy is. You'll have to disclose that. Your non-standard discounts mean, Northrop Grumman came to us and offered us a subcontract, so we gave them I don't know, you're not really giving them a 20% discount. They're usually just saying, hey, buddy, here's the price, take it or leave it, and you're salivating for work, so you just take it. And so you're basically then saying, well, this is really not part of our practice. It was a one-time spot discount of 20% to be a sub to Northrop Grumman, just to get into the door at, I don't know, Department of Defense or wherever. So non-standard just means a one-time spot discount, typically in order to win the discount. Or to win the business. It doesn't make up the majority of your business, meaning that this is not 100% of your revenue is not discounted at this 20% rate. Again, it was just a one-time spot discount. Maybe it makes up one client that's represents, I don't know, 20% of your annual revenues. Standard discounts, again, are standard policies and procedures where there's categories of customers or even a customer name. Anytime we work with, I don't know, McDonald's, we always give them a X% discount, or whoever it is, Office Depot, you name it. So let's look at this in a more visual way. And again, this is usually so much easier in a classroom with a whiteboard, but let's push through here. So again, standard discounts are just part of the policy and procedure. So the sales reps, your business development people, your back office accounting folks know that, oh, this order came from, a .org or a 501c3, and so they're nonprofit, so we are giving them a 10% discount because that's just part of the policy. Non-standard, again, spot discounts. And this kind of goes back to the second one here, does not comprise a large portion of your revenue. So again, if all of your revenue is as a subcontractor and it's all at a heavily discounted rate that you can't live with, then you can't really call that non-standard. It's become a standard part of your business. So you probably want to diversify or do something to get some higher rates. And so you'll need other invoices to show that, that was just, one-time discount with Northrop Grumman, just to stick with that example. So let me move on here. So again, GSA will want what's equal to or better than your GSA proposed rates are going to be equal to or better than your most favored customer. Most favored customer again are your standard discount. So let me just go back. Again, standard is part of your normal practice. So if you're always giving 10% to nonprofits, GSA will want 10%, preferably 11, 12, 13, 14%. You're going to want something that's better. So GSA should always be your best priced customer using the standard discounts. So let me just move on from there. And so they conduct 2 litmus tests, and some of this I'm just trying to say it in different ways to drive home this point. One, again, is your internal pricing discounts, and that's the previous slide. So your standard versus your non-standard. GSA is not entitled to your kind of one-off spot discounts, but they are entitled to your standard discounts. And then the second one is, again, that market research that you've already done because you did your homework and you know that your rates are going to be competitive with the others. So they'll conduct that external pricing looking at the other schedule holders. Again, there's the reference to the buy.gsa.gov or gsaadvantage.gov if you're selling software or products. So again, ensure in advance that your rates are comparable to the other schedule holders and that your standard discounts are truly standard and that your non-standard are truly non-standard. All of this will be used in the negotiations. GSA can, I have rarely have seen them do this, but they can conduct pre-audit or they can do a pre-audit before the award. So they can come in and look in more detail at your financials, not just that SF 527 that I mentioned earlier, but they can kind of drill down and ask for additional invoices to or to see kind of, if you're saying, oh, this Northrop Grumman really only makes up, I don't know, 10% of our overall revenue, but we've given them, great discounts. They can come in and ask to, again, open the kimono a little bit more and get into the weeds with your financials. So again, just make sure that you've done the homework, and if so, then the data will lead you where you need to go. And GSA is not the end all be all. It's not the only path. You may be better served by getting on a different contract vehicle or using that money just for a really good capture person or proposal writer or whatever it is, or just refining your business processes or expanding into some other verticals where you can get higher rates. A lot of companies get onto GSA thinking that they're going to win a couple contracts and then in the out years that they'll be able to do a price increase and then eventually become profitable. And so you're kind of just buying the contract, and that's a risky and also expensive way to go down this path or to attempt to be successful. So I'm going to pause there and see what's come in, if anything.
Two questions came in. Is the backup for labor rates an invoice?
Yes. Yep. So, and for labor, and I'll expand on this question. Again, it's so much easier with a whiteboard. Your invoice may say, I'm just going to assume the person's selling, let's say, IT services. Your invoice may say, invoice to ABC company, terms net 30. Description, it might say IT professional services, $50,000. So what you would do in that scenario is put a spreadsheet behind it that says project manager level 1, $85 an hour times 15 hours that month. Systems engineer, $120 times, I don't know, 40 hours that month, and just basically create the spreadsheet behind it to indicate what labor categories were used. The other thing is your invoice may look like, Joe Smith, $100 an hour times 17 hours. Mary Brown, $217.32 times 25 hours. And you may have names, additional names, number of hours times the hours that they worked. And then, the total says 50,000 or 100,000 or a million or whatever that number is. So then you would put a spreadsheet behind that that says Joe Smith, systems engineer, Mary Brown, project manager. And so that's how you would justify those. Or your invoice may simply have actually all the labor categories spelled out. One other scenario here is that you may have the labor categories spelled out, but you may say, hey, on the invoice, it's a project manager, but really that person is a Scrum Master. So you can have a crosswalk on your GSA price proposal. So you just need to go to the solicitation, download the price proposal template, fill out the data points that they're asking, because one of the columns is asking you for the invoice number and basically the backup for that. So I hope that answers the question.
The next question we have on deck is, we have a BOA with pricing for various LCATs, but no invoices yet. Could this be used as proof of pricing?
Yes. However, I would say if you and I don't know how many LCATs are on that contract, but if you haven't invoiced them, that's fine. You can use that, but the preference is to always use an invoice. So if you're using this for all of your LCATs, I'm not saying you're going to get rejected. You're not, but to me indicates more of a premature pull on the schedule. Again, unless you've got a relationship, unless you've done the homework, unless you've checked out your pricing with others. But usually most people that are attending this class have not done that. And I don't mean to be assuming here, but just be, again, cognizant of the competitive pricing and where GSA is going to push you. And if you can, for the majority of your pricing, have an invoice.
That's all the questions we have at this time.
Great. And as you guys can tell, I take a more conservative approach on working with our clients to get them onto the schedule, because I know we don't want to take their money and then have them be one of these companies that's, the majority that have zero sales next to their name. So we want to make sure it's in your best interest. And for years of doing this, 20 plus years, when companies are submitting just proposals or just quote sheets to justify their line items, whether it's software, services, or products, they probably haven't had conversations. They probably haven't done the homework on the competitive pricing. So you can kind of almost tell that they're probably, there are certainly exceptions to every rule, but I'm just kind of saying that, again, we take a more conservative approach, because I don't want to sell you something that's going to be a liability for your company, or that you're going to spend money on and there's no return on your investment. Like, who wants that? There's so many other avenues that you can go down. There's so many other ways to spend your time and resources. And there's no other sector out there like the federal government where there is so much data that you can sift through and organize to help create your strategy on how you use your time efficiently and effectively. So, and so many people don't take advantage of it. It just, it surprises me. So, again, use the data to drive your decisions, and I think you'll be very successful. So post-award, back to pricing here off my soapbox. Post-award, your GSA rates down. Now they've been negotiated down to pretty much where all the other GSA schedule holders are, as well as something that's comparable to your lowest rates, your standard rates. So your GSA rates are now a price ceiling or not to exceed. So as you're bidding for work through your schedule, you're actually encouraged to give discounts lower than your GSA rate. Outside of the schedule, even if it's a government contract, you cannot go below your GSA rates. And now that may sound confusing, so I put together a little bit of a visual here. Again, this is so much easier in person, but let's say your GSA negotiated rate for your software is $100 per person or per user license, or it's $100 for your widget or $100 per hour for your program manager. So if somebody's purchasing from you through the schedule, you are encouraged to give a rate that's lower than your GSA rate. So let's say you bid at $95 and you've got a relationship with, let's say it's the Air Force, great, that is fine. Now let's say University of Michigan or Department of Agriculture comes to you, or Department of Commerce, and they're all saying, we also want this program manager, but again, this is not a GSA schedule purchase. You cannot go lower, but you can go higher. So you can offer them a rate of $100 or higher. Again, it doesn't matter that the customer is the federal government. If they're not using the schedule, you cannot go lower. Let me pause there and see if anybody has a question on that simple rule. Oh, I shouldn't say simple, that rule, because it can be confusing at times.
No questions came in, but one comment said that they appreciate your words of wisdom.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and we'll move on. Okay, so that was pricing. I was going to say speak now or forever hold your peace on pricing, but I really don't mean that. You guys have my email address there at the bottom. Please feel free to use that if you have any questions or you want to schedule a consultation afterwards or something. So now just the timelines, and speaking of time, I just want to check. Okay, we've got about half an hour left. And this is really just for planning purposes for anybody that is either kind of doing the schedule themselves or even going to a consultant. These are all estimates. So the administration section, administrative, could be really done in a day or two, but if you're a small business and you're running your business and maybe you have, a family and activities planned with your family and that sort of thing, I'd give yourself 1 to 2 weeks. The technical about the same, maybe administrative, probably more like 1 week, 1 day. Technical 1 to 2 weeks. Pricing usually causes the biggest headache, and depending upon how complex your pricing is, as well as how many line items you have. Do you have 5 labor categories, or do you have 505 or SKUs or whatever it is you're selling? You probably then want somebody with fresh eyes to come in and do a quality control check, make any corrections, edits, and that can be a day or two. If you're like the only person that's doing it, then I'd say step away, look at something else, go see a movie, read a book, come back and look at the GSA offer to make sure you haven't missed anything, and make sure that there's not a new refresh number that you missed some sort of form or hoop to jump through. So 6 to 8 weeks is about what we imagine. That's just the proposal prep. Then you hop over to the GSA offer website, click on submit. Usually you get a confirmation within 24 hours. Oh, I'm sorry. This is give yourself a day to actually get the proposal into the GSA offer system. It's a lot of just copy and paste, uploading documents. But again, just make sure if you did start this process, 6 to 8 weeks ago, some of your documentation may have changed. So just be cognizant of that. And yeah, so give yourself a day or two to get that in. Once you then submit everything to GSA, you may potentially, like I said, get this financial request. This is the standard form 527. They usually give you about 2 weeks to get that back to them. The sooner you get it back to them, the sooner you kind of shuffle along here in this production line. What then happens is GSA will send over a welcome letter, and then with that welcome letter, shortly thereafter, you'll get what's called clarifications. This is really just Q&A. They may ask for additional documentation, whether it's additional invoices, a copy of a contract, just clarifications about any of the forms that you submitted. Sometimes you'll get that. It usually comes in the form of an email. Let's say you get the email on Tuesday afternoon. They're going to say, oh, it's due by Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. If you get it to them on Wednesday or Tuesday night, even better. They will be, for the most part, I'll say, they will be incentivized to work with you the sooner that you get the information back to them. But then you may not hear from them for another week or two, and then they're going to send you another email, let's say on Thursday, and they say this is due by Monday. We need, X, Y, and Z. Again, just be very efficient and expedient. Make sure that you've got multiple people listed on your contract as contract negotiators, so that in case somebody misses an email. This can go on for anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months. It just depends really on who you get, unfortunately. And some are better than others, but the better that you keep the relationship and the quicker you respond to them with the accurate information, the smoother the process will be. Once you've answered all their questions, they'll move on to price negotiations. This will be for each and every single line item. Sometimes they're going to ask for a blanket discount. For example, hey, give us an additional 5% discount on everything. That's very rare. Typically, it is based on, again, each and every line item. So if you've got 100 line items, then they're going to do negotiations on each and every one of those line items. And they will come back and say either they'll ask for a specific price or they'll ask for a specific discount. Now, keep in mind that you do not need to say yes to them and just buckle and take whatever they give because you're so desperate to get onto the schedule. Keep in mind, this is your pricing, this is your profitability, this is your business, and you want to stay in business. So I would encourage you to counter offer, which you are allowed to do. And counter offering, I would refer you back to that homework that you did before you decided to get onto the schedule. Say, hey, here's 3 competitors for this price that you want me to go, below the average competitors rate or below the average GSA rate. Here's 3 companies that have, higher prices than us. Now, keep in mind, if these 3 companies that you've got require some sort of certification or have something special about what it is they're offering in that job description, then you want to make sure, again, you're comparing apples to apples. So, and also the other thing here with negotiations, you can counter offer. So they're also going to ask for volume discounts, prompt payment discounts. Be sure you're ready to answer that. Again, you don't have to say yes to everything that they ask you. Too many companies do, and it's usually easy to tell who has and who has not used a consultant or who has kind of some of the insider information on what you can and cannot do here. So another reason to consider a consultant. Give yourself here, again, 2 weeks to a month. Sometimes they will come back with pricing offers and then they disappear and then they pop back up. Sometimes this happens over the phone, but typically it's over email, these negotiations. And there's more tips I can give you here, but that's, I'll say, kind of our special sauce. So I'm going to just move on to the next slide here. The final proposal revision, the FPR. Once you've agreed to all of the pricing negotiations, the FPR recaps the pricing as well as your terms, conditions. And you usually get that a day or 2 after the price negotiations are finished, but it can take longer. It could be a week, it could be actually 2 weeks. Again, it really just depends on who you get. And then you've got your awards. So you celebrate for a moment, pop the champagne, but then the time the ticker is on, you've got to bring in at least $100,000 for the first 5 years, and then $125,000 for each of the 5 years beyond that. So if you exercise all your options for the full 20 years and you just meet the minimum, then you're bringing in, I think it's like $450 if you do the math, which is probably not a good reason to be on the schedule. So post-award, you've got to register in SIP. SIP is the Schedule Input Program. It's a software program that's anyone that's in my age bracket, it's as similar as you can get to maybe Atari. Back in the day, very archaic software program. SIP does have a 1-800 number, and those folks are maybe not so helpful, but they do answer the phone at times. Anyway, you go upload your price list, your terms, conditions there. They're migrating over to a new platform, thankfully. Once your price list is approved, and this does go in a specific order, you're then able to get into the GSA eBuy system, which gives you those RFP notifications. Keep in mind then, again, here with these RFP notifications that, yes, they are only seen by people within your special item number, but again, this is just, you know, the fiercest competition that you're going to get. Everybody's prices are the same. Everybody's more or less. The special sauce is really the relationship. So if you don't have the relationship, this is where you're going to stand out like a sore thumb. And then you've got some reporting to do in the federal award system for the monthly fee that or monthly or quarterly, depending upon how you're set up, that you pay GSA. That's the post-award compliance. What's next? Just basically get out there and sell your solution. You should be reaching back. At this point, this is not the point to set up a capture program or business development or marketing. You should have set that up before, which is what led you to get onto the schedule. So you should be going back to your pipeline of opportunities. Hey, Joe at I don't know, USAID, we're on the schedule now. I remember we had a conversation a couple months ago that you wanted our widget. You can now buy it on the schedule. Boom. And that's really how it should work. It should just be a process. So don't get onto the schedule and then try to sell it. You should be selling it. You should be ensuring that that is how your customers prefer to purchase. And these are just some marketing tips. Make sure you've got the logo everywhere that people can see it. You know, from your business card to your website, your auto signature and your email. Does it really necessitate a press release? Not really, unless you've got a big sale that you're going to be running through it in the, you know, a couple of months. But I would just make it easy for people to find you. That's a whole nother class on marketing. But just flaunt your schedule, and it shows that you're a credible, vetted, low-priced vendor, if you will, but you're on this vendor shortlist with all the rest. Continually touch your pipeline. I'm just kind of going through this quickly to leave room for questions in case anybody does have those. There's obviously the cost of doing business for your back office, and then you'll make your own modifications if you want to change your pricing. Add special item numbers, add labor categories, add products, change your address. If you're going through any mergers, acquisitions, there's novation changes, et cetera, et cetera. There's a variety of modifications that you can make, and then the ones that GSA makes are typically just due to the new refresh number. I think I went backwards, sorry there. And I think that is it. So thank you. Just a reminder of our event on Monday, the 24th, with these awesome government agencies who will be there and available to talk to you. And happy to take your questions now. And thanks again to you, Christina, for reading off the questions. Thanks everybody who joined us. And look forward to answering questions.
Thanks, Jennifer. One question I guess we'll answer now. They were wondering if you were going to be covering the CPV program.
CPB, meaning?
V as in Victor, CPV.
Let me see here, sorry. And let's go to the next question while we can come back to that.
All right, we don't have any questions yet, but if anyone wants to put a question in the Q&A, we appreciate it. And then in the meantime, I did send out a survey today for feedback on today's webinar. If you could kindly fill that out. It is all anonymous, so we appreciate any feedback. And if you enjoyed Jennifer's webinar today, she's going to come back to us here in the end of summer in August, and she's going to be going over Marketing 101 for federal contractors. Attract the primes, attract the government.
Fantastic. Thank you, Christina.
And I'll hold out here, Jennifer, just a little longer, see if anyone decides to put any questions in.
Okay.
Jennifer, one person's wondering, does your firm help start up small businesses?
We typically refer startups to the Apex accelerators, but we've got, like I said, almost 700 videos on government contracting. So if you are a driven, ambitious individual that is self-motivated, you could probably learn a little bit just by downloading our complimentary videos. And depending, I guess, upon how startup-ish you are, we can work with some. If you're pre-revenue, I would say stick with your Virginia Apex Accelerator.
Do you have any questions for Jennifer? Just put them in that Q&A box. Otherwise, we'll wrap up here in a few minutes. All right, Jennifer, no further questions have come in. Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it as always, and look forward to seeing you in August. And to everyone else still on, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you at our future webinars. Thank you again.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Christina.